UNPAVED, Sean Salisbury here. We're bringing authentic, real stuff to you. Hardcore opinion.
Sean Salisbury, a great NFL analyst, a former NFL quarterback.
To me, Tom Brady is the GOAT because he's done more with less than any player at that position we've ever had.
Better do that. Turn off the mute button. Hey, it's Unpaved. I'm Sean Salisbury. Adam Sager will be along here in just a second. What a night we had last night. It was everything was cracked up to be an even better and more because the point spread had it as Indiana running through this, but Indiana wins the Natty 16 straight wins. What a phenomenal 2 years, and capped off by this. You can't fake your way to the last 2 years Indiana had, even though I know it's still hard for people to fathom, buy-in, execution. And it came down, before I bring Adam Sager in, it came simply down to this: about 6 or 8 plays and about 2 or 3 extra players. Compare it. Run game, Miami kept them involved. Fletcher's a monster. The defenses both hung in there throughout, even though they had their moments of, you saw Miami come back out, start to hit some things, and Beck start to make some throws late, but they relied and leaned on the run game on the other side. Indiana did what they've done all year. They were efficient when needed, made the simple play, and then when you had to push the ball down the field or make decisions or make a play, they made a big play when they presented themselves, and that was the difference. In the end, the Carson Beck underthrow, the back shoulder throw, 2 of them from Fernando Mendoza. A run that could have got a first down by Mendoza on a brilliant 4th down call and empty, and they'd seen that tape because you watched Notre Dame do the same thing earlier. Was it last year? Tape, but ran empty backfield, quarterback draw. But running to get a first down from that far away, get the first down, Mendoza completed the play. Imagine what the game looks like now if it was a field goal and they didn't close out with the Mendoza effort to get in the end zone. 1 or 2 plays. A penalty here. Special teams, doesn't it always come down to that? We talk about all 3 phases. The kicking game, Miami misses a kick, boom, doinks it. And then what happens late in the game? You let a guy run free, a simple assignment. Guy didn't even get his hand on it. One of the upbacks didn't even block it. Clear path. And how often do you see normally a guy try to get 2 hands or jumps up? It is hard to get 1 paw on a ball on a punter. Paw, boom, bounces right, recover, difference in a game. 2 4th down calls, a couple back shoulders, an interception. Look at Fletcher. Think about the stars on the field too. Tony. Everybody had a star make a play and somebody else make a play, but it turned out the way it usually does. The difference in quarterback play when it mattered, Mendoza was better. And at one point dropped back 3 times, got sacked 3 times in the second half. Boom, they still found a way to execute. Trust and buy-in is that the Cignetti called a timeout to get him over there and to send him back out on a 4th down call because he trusted what they've seen and what their eyes told them in their tape study. A couple different players, a special teams play, a couple throws and a run, and an extra effort was the difference in the game. It's pretty simple. Both well coached, couple penalties. I thought the refs were on it for the most part last night. It came down to that, and it usually does. It didn't come down to just the block punt. You got to get a stop and keep them backed up so you can block that punt. 2 first downs, and that's a recovery in the red zone, and you may have to kick a field goal instead of get a touchdown out of it. So you got to look at the big picture. Segs, welcome in. Adam G. Sager on Twitter. I'm at Sean Unfiltered. It was a hell of a football game. Turned out, like I said, had Indiana winning and had Miami closer than people thought. The physicality by Miami started to rear its head. But it's been a long time since I've seen a team do everything really, really well without a glaring weakness. That's Indiana. They run it well enough. They block it. Even when they gave up some really physical plays to one of the strengths of Miami, their front, they make great decisions on the 4th down, sprint to the left, throw it to the flat. On a miscover, a simple, the guy got out of place. The motion backs in the flat, throws it to the flat, first down. Back the trust in. Let me tell you, want to tell you how tough that throw is that Mendoza made on those sidelines both times. One was a great back shoulder. The other one was an underthrow that missed on the shoulder, but great concentration by the receiver. To be able to do that once every couple of weeks is pretty important. To do it on that stage in that situation, and one of them throwing that throw on a situation where you need that catch for a first down, and to trust that you're pushing it that far down the field to get that first down. Yeah, Indiana is clearly, and I don't care what anybody in Oregon, Miami, and I know it was close and they played their ass off. I don't care what they say around the country. Notre Dame, Southern Cal, the Indiana Hoosiers were week to week, day to day preparation, performance, execution, better as a staff and as a team than any other team in the country. And they left no doubt last night. Even though it was a close game, they did the right things under pressure. You want to know how good they'd be under pressure? Was a moment too big because it's Indiana and they haven't been there? Well, I think you got your answer last night. And now the next step is building it into a consistent powerhouse, because the last 2 years, no team consistently has been better than this team in America. And they capped it off. And we've never seen 16-0 because of the playoff. Well, now you got it. Phenomenal and historic performance by them.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a great game that, was close, and it never felt like it was over. It felt like Miami could get back into the game even early on in that second half when they took that drive down and scored. It felt like it was going to be a really good national championship, and it was. And if I would have told you that Miami's defense got to Mendoza 3 times, they were pressuring him like crazy for a lot of the game. Malachi Toney was going to have over 100 yards and a touchdown. The running back was going to have over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Fletcher.
You would have said Miami's winning that game. And yet here we are. Those things all happened. And it's not like Mendoza went crazy and threw for 5 touchdowns. He didn't throw for any, but he made the plays that he needed to make. And you mentioned those 2 throws, the back shoulder and the underthrow one, both to Charlie Becker, who started this season not playing. He was not part of the roster depth chart. And he worked his way up and became the 3rd wide receiver to Surratt and Cooper, and became just as important as those 2 guys down the stretch. It's a great team. It's a great win for Indiana. And maybe we stop hearing about Indiana basketball, because now Indiana football is going to,
well, it's the best sport on campus.
Powerhouse.
Yeah. And you know what else too about that? I've tried to tell people, it kind of proved the point of complete teams don't have to have their quarterback, and Buffalo went through this in the NFL, don't have to have their quarterback play great and dominate to win. They just need to make sure you're air free. And until that last throw by Carson Beck, if you want to count the punt recovery for a touchdown, nobody had turned the ball over. They protected the ball. Both teams did a good job. Now, we can look at that last play. First off, the receiver takes an inside release, number 1, which all of a sudden now he's got to push himself back outside away from a single high safety. The ball was on the right hash, which makes it a long throw anyway. Hash marks are different in college than they are in the NFL. Closer together in the NFL, further apart. So on the right hash, throwing that ball the other way, you got to get into it. You got to get some ass and some lower half explosion into it. And then making that, but it almost felt to me like Carson Beck, and it's one play, but leading to it, and they were going down. Maybe, who knows what it's going to happen. You go down, score and kick a field goal, you win a game. Is the Carson Beck, picked the wrong time to make that read, but it almost went back to the premeditated. he was going to take that shot because the second the ball snapped, safety ran to the receiver. And it boom, looked like single high and ran almost as if it was, it almost looked like two high safeties after he rotated to go to it. But he started at the second the ball snapped, he was a single high safety. But he immediately ran to that position almost as if they knew the ball was going there. The safety didn't wait till the eyes took him there. He went, and Carson Beck led him there. Inside release instead of outside release. And then you make throw. And the great thing about this was the corner was never threatened in the flat. So what did he do? He continued to lose ground, which is smart, well-taught, excellent football that it's going to get lost in the shuffle. But as I was watching, I'm saying, damn, what a great decision. Nobody threatened him in the flat. So what do you kept retreating. And lo and behold, he's in position to force that because that ball wasn't going to get in no matter how it was thrown. The inside release, now you got to force yourself to get back outside. I take you back to the national championship, Tua's coming out party, when Devontae Smith took an outside release on a hole shot, and guess what happened? Maybe to this day, still the best throw in Tua's career.
Yeah.
To get that ball as a hole shot to do it. So point is, and Segs mentioning that Mendoza didn't do anything great, and you know what else he didn't do? Anything stupid.
Exactly.
And 3 sacks in a row would have wilted some quarterbacks. I'm just telling you, they would drop back, sack. 2 in one series, then in one next, but 3 straight dropbacks, 3 straight sacks. That could have got to the point like, man, it's starting to come apart here in the second half. Bam. You never know what play is going to be the one. That the guy blocked the punt. He didn't know the guy was going to not block him. You go full speed, guy didn't block him. You get the paw up, and it hits you square in the palm of the hand, which is beautiful. And then bounces correctly instead of out of the back of the end zone. All those things. But Mendoza, it just proved you got to play efficient and smart football in a big game. You don't have to play spectacular, because if Mendoza plays spectacular and they don't block a punt and Miami doesn't turn it over and Fletcher rushes for 100 and Tony does what he does, you're right. Miami probably wins the game.
Mm-hmm.
One of those 4th downs not thrown accurately or not run with extra effort to get in the end zone might end in a field goal, and we might be having a different conversation. And guess what? Miami wouldn't have been done if they were down by 3. They wouldn't have tried to take the home run shot. They'd have played themselves to get themselves into a tie. But the touchdown gives it throughout the way, gives you a little extra latitude. So point being is you never know when. But Fernando Mendoza played excellent football. But that's why this team's good, is you don't have to have one guy play great to win. Who stuck out? A bunch of them. A block punt, Mendoza making throws, wide receiver making plays. Running game was efficient and enough. The offensive line was efficient. What sticks out on the other side? We know the big plays, but not. And you think about this. They were controllable. If Beck reads that coverage, he wouldn't throw that in the second quarter up 14. He wouldn't have made that throw. But the desperation kicks in. And also, you know what? That guy, the personal protector, guess what he's going to do, Segs? 900 times out of 901, 999 times out of 1,000. Just punch. Just get your hands on him. He's the initial threat. Don't overthink it. And you know what happens in pressure games, Segs? Sometimes you overthink it. Sometimes you get too cute. And in the 4th down calls, going back to the other side about decisions you make that you got to believe in, I don't think there was a hope at any point in time on those 2 4th down calls. I think that they saw something that unequivocally told them they could hit a back shoulder and they could run a quarterback draw with an empty backfield and get a 1st down. And then Mendoza's effort was just, this is run. You're calling this to get a 1st down. You're not calling it to score from outside the red zone. Outside the 10-yard line. And then the extra effort gets him in, which just saved you from having to take 3 points, possibly, even if you're 1st and goal. Who knows if Miami gets a stop? They're physical enough. So it's just a handful of mistakes. But the ability to win when somebody doesn't dominate. The most dominant offensive performances were on the other side. Tony and Fletcher, either one of them's the MVP of the game if they win. So it was impressive. And once again, both defenses, against those offenses, did a nice job, and it was about 4 to 6 plays that was the difference in this game.
Something you said.
Miami's really good.
Yeah, something you said just a little bit ago stuck out because it's something I tweeted last night after the interception, the last interception that Carson Beck threw to end the game was, Indiana calls the timeout. So Miami comes out of the timeout and walks up to the huddle, right? And you see Carson Beck turn to Marion, the wide receiver, number 0 that he threw the ball to, and he talks to him. And then he gets in, says the play, It's like you said it felt like it was predetermined. He was throwing that ball no matter what. And
now change that to a comeback or something. The guy's overrunning it. You pump a comeback. Even if he's tackling him down, you run down there and you spike it. You still got a handful of shots at the end.
Oh, yeah. You still got plenty of time left because I want to say there was 40
in the 40s
left when they took the timeout when Indiana did. So, yeah, it just felt like it was a predetermined throw. And then Marion came out afterwards, said he didn't even realize that Beck had already thrown the ball by the time it was intercepted because you could see he's 4 or 5 yards deeper than the ball where it's picked off. That ball doesn't even get to Marion, let alone him be able to have a chance to catch it. So it felt like Marion thought the ball was going to come over the top, maybe like going for a touchdown. Right.
He missed the throw. There's no doubt.
And then Beck threw it shorter, like he was going to, maybe be in that area. So all I know is Carson Beck has 6 losses in his career. 6. 4 have interceptions to end the game. All 3 losses this year had an interception to lose the game.
This was my concern. Who would make the big mistake? Not just the big play, the big mistake. And for people that may like, well, what do you mean by an inside release? Just you saw him get off the ball, the outside receiver. Instead of forcing and punching, pushing, forcing an outside release, what that does is when you take an inside release and then you have to work, first of all, you don't have enough time to sit back there and hold that ball in a game like this because they're cutting it loose. They know. But when you take an inside release, you close the distance between the receiver and the second guy, the help over the top. You make him go a shorter distance, which makes it far less margin for error. And even though you try to get back outside, it's a process to work your way back outside. The brilliance of the play is the corner retreats since he wasn't threatened in the flat. The truth is, if you threaten him in the flat and that corner retreats, you know where you should throw the ball? Throw it to the flat, get 15 yards, step your ass out of bounds. Let's take some shots at the end zone.
Is that a mistake by Miami to not have somebody?
Yeah, well, I don't know why you – yes, I see. For me, I don't understand why you wouldn't. Right. Because if you're running out there with that coverage and the corner continues to retreat without being threatened, especially even if it's a late threat, boom, check down, and then like running – it was earlier in the night. Wait, no, it was your Chicago Bears, the rookie. What's his name? The running back. Monangai, right.
Monangai.
Did you see the option route he ran? Mm-hmm. Where he went up, set him up, lean inside, run. If you're running that route and the back comes out and checks out, and all of a sudden, let's just say it was one-on-one. I'm just using anything like he had with the guy covering him, leaned on and run away. Imagine if you had that back in the flat or a shallow cross in the flat, and Beck comes back. I don't like that. Over the top, a retreating corner. The reason why you'd send him out a little bit late for a late check down or a late crosser is because you don't want that corner to hold. But if the corner doesn't, I mean, you do if you're trying to throw it downfield.
Right.
Then what happens is, but that ball should come out sooner. Then especially if that guy takes an outside release and the corner sees he's threatened, he hesitates a little, then you take a Matt Stafford hole shot to get him, and then he beats the throw. The more air you put on it, and he took an inside release, dude, and then the ball was underthrown. It was the triple whammy. Inside release, ball underthrown to a retreating corner, easiest interception in the world, and a safety that's going over the top to help. Imagine if you're flat. So if they kept everybody in for protection purposes, you have to have somebody threaten the corner, because a smart corner is just going to say, I'm not threatened. I'm just going to keep retreating until I see somebody in my zone coming to get me. And if they don't, and think about that tight end hit or somebody hits, leaks out late, throw it. He's going to run for 20 yards before anybody gets to him. And then he can step out of bounds. A lot had to go right, and it went wrong with that throw. And I do believe just by the decision and the throw, that decision, he was going to make that throw. You saw it. Sags, what game were we talking about? The quarterback who made 2 decisions in a game, it might have been NFL or college a week ago, that he threw a pump seam down the middle that was intercepted. Was it Dante Moore?
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, I believe it was.
Was it against Indiana? Yeah, where he premeditated the reads, and he threw it there when he had no business. On 2 picks, he threw the ball when he should have read it out. It would have been so much easier. But greed becomes a problem in life. And unfortunately, they're trying to get it all with 1 home run. And the sad thing about it is they didn't need that. If you're mine, you did not need to make that throw to a retreating corner. So, yeah, to me, and we get locked into that, but you still got to read the play out. And the ball said no business. Matter of fact, the second the receiver takes an inside release to a corner over the top, a safety over the top, he should have been off that throw. Find somewhere, throw it out of bounds, and let's tee it up on another play. games ended on an interception when you didn't. Now with 2 seconds to go and it's a Hail Mary, I get it. You had time and you're in their zone. You had time for a couple more completions, and then you can take a shot closer to the end zone. That's tough throw, man. Tough place, tough decision.
We'll get more into college football later in the show, talk about some portal additions, some decisions being made by quarterbacks and what schools are saying about it. But my one last question when it comes to college football, we've got 3 Big Ten champions, or 3 Big Ten teams that are national champions in a row. Michigan in 23, Ohio State last year, or 24, 25, and now 26 with Indiana. Do you think the SEC continues? I don't want to say fall off because they're still really good, but do you see this trend continuing, or do you think the SEC will make an adjustment with the NIL? I mean, basically, as they said, now you can pay players, and it feels like everything's kind of leveled in the playing field, not only with not out teams outside the SEC, but a team like Indiana, who, if they want to throw some money around, a Texas Tech, if they want to throw some money around, you can get to the playoffs, and you get to the playoffs quick. But do you think this SEC, the reign that went on so long, is slowly fading away, and we'll see more teams like this win national titles?
Yeah, analytics say that Big Ten, first of all, the Big Ten's the best. The last 3 championships will tell you right now who the best conference is. And it was that, and SEC fans can argue all they want. Bottom line is, you haven't seen a championship since, who was the last one? Georgia? Was it Georgia or who? SEC team? Yeah.
The SEC hasn't even went to a national championship game in 3 years.
So listen, it's not because SEC, I don't care. I've long said that it was SEC Big Ten. It's flip-flop now. Just like we talk about basketball. One of the greatest conferences in the history of this sport was last year's SEC basketball. Mm-hmm. And when I say SEC basketball in the past, you say, oh, you'll get a couple good teams. You'll get a Kentucky, Alabama. But it was never deep like the old Big East used to be when 8, 9, 10 teams would make the tournament, 11 teams. It was awesome. The same thing here. Listen, it's tough to keep the crown, man, to sit up there and do it. And I've said it before. I don't think it's the only reason. I mean this affection. I don't mean it as a dig on Nick Saban. I get it. Saban's advantage was he was the best recruiter in the world, period. Aside from knowing X's and O's and knowing how to hire coaches and how to evaluate talent. But when the great equalizer became that Mississippi State, if they wanted to, can get the same players you do, you knew you were in trouble. And you knew it was a great equalizer, so it's just cash. Yeah, unfortunately, that's life. What happens is football's caught up to life. You got cash, you can do any shit you want, whether it's good or you can. You can get places that people without cash can't. If I tell you 10 years ago, you say West Texas, oil, landman, football, sometimes football, Mike Leach, Texas Tech. Nobody, even though there's money there, nobody would have thought, oh, they're going to jump in. They found a former player and an alumni that's in the energy world that has big money, said, we can change the course of this. Look what Portnoy's called, I've said it before, to Larry Ellison and his wife did to get Underwood, $12 million worth. The relationships. Texas Tech said, we're tired of Texas and A&M and those guys getting it done. We're going to start spending more in NIL because the rules allow us. Look at that. They're going to be in the top 15, top 10 playoff caliber team every year now because they can go get the best quarterback. Arguably, the kid from Cincinnati is one of the 2 or 3
Salisbury.
best. And no doubt. So you can go do that. And I think that's a big reason why Nick Saban, they've taken my advantage away. They've taken it away. When Vanderbilt can go pay and get a recruit that we like, you've taken the Nick Saban advantage away to out-recruit you in relationships with the parents, recruit the parents. What money did was bring teams to say, what? They're 4th in recruiting? Not that Texas Tech doesn't have good football players, but when I tell you that, you're like, get the hell out of here. Well, they got a lot of money and a lot of money they want to win, and they're tired of the shit, and they got an ego. So do I think it's going to happen? It's here. It's here. There's somebody on Indiana's campus that after this is going to say, you know what, I got $25 million to give. I want more with NIL because I like the feeling of this.
Yeah.
I like this feeling. That's how it starts. And so it's no longer, man, hey, did you know what? Man, Kirby Smart can recruit. Yes, he can. But now, oh, good gracious, Vanderbilt offered this 3.9 student who's a good quarterback. It's like what Stanford was doing before NIL. They were starting to get great players. Players said, great academics, great school, great coaching staff. I want to go be a part of that. The Andrew Luck could have gone anywhere in the country, chose Stanford. Not that it's not a good, but it wasn't a football powerhouse. Harbaugh and Shaw, Coach Shaw turned it into one. at that time, and now they got to get back there. But there was that time. Vanderbilt's sitting in there. If they had all that money and rich alumni, they're probably own a bunch of their guys own companies. Get one guy to say, we're changing the course of this. We're going to stay where we are because I like this. And guess what? It happens. Indiana, listen, at some point in time, if you just recruited 3-star guys, the world may catch up to you. But Indiana now has posted this by doing it the right way. But now they have money, or if I'm sure they have alumni that says, what? This is such a sweet feeling. I can't wait to be a part of this NIL program. So is the stronghold over if you're a great recruiter and got money, well, then you're going to end up playing in more of these. But if you can recruit, but you can also know how to recruit and use the money wisely, you can literally do what they do in sports. You can buy yourself into a playoff. And that's okay because the rules allow it. So, yeah, but there's no arguing. The results tell you that the Big Ten's the best conference in football right now because they keep winning the biggest games. That has shifted. It's not SEC right now. They may be a little deeper at the bottom, but the best right now, as far as who's playing the best under the most amount of pressure, it is the Big Ten. And Indiana was the best team in college football this year, whether people want to admit it or not, and they earned it last night.
Yes, for sure. So congrats to the Indiana Hoosiers. All right, flipping to the NFL. Dolphins make their head coaching hire. Last week, they hired John Eric Sullivan from the Packers front office to be their GM. Now he goes out and he hires Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley as the next head coach of the Miami Dolphins. What do you feel about this hire? I mean, Hafley was just 2 years ago at Boston College struggling to win games there, and he is a great defensive mind, and that's why the Packers went and got him to help that defense get even better than they already were. Then they get Micah Parsons, and they were good all season long. Now he's the Miami Dolphins head coach. Now he's an NFL head coach. Do you like this move by the Miami Dolphins?
Yeah, I think I do, Segs, and I'll tell you why. I don't know. I think I do.
I'm on the fence. That's like
for a couple reasons. It's not a sexy hire.
No.
And real quick, just to answer this before we move on, Dustin, you were sending a message. Jared to Dustin about because of 25-year-old transfers. Their average age for Indiana is just under 24 years old, which is more than a couple teams, I think, in the NFL. But BYU's had that experience because of church missions we've talked about for years. It's just smart. That's what the transfer portal is doing now. That's why, again, the last 4 quarterbacks in the championship games have all been transfers. The teams that are at the top of the country still went out and hired transfers, in some cases, 2 of them. Yep. So experience, it's telling you, all the transfer portal's done is to have coaches say experience matters more than a 5-star freshman. He's going to help us win quicker and urgently, and they do. Doesn't mean you can't develop them and hope to keep them, but right now, steal somebody else's that's developed and pay them a little extra money, and you got yourself a possibility of national title. But Segs, the Hafley thing, he's a really good coach with a lot of energy. At no time in your life will you have seen in the course of about a year and a half or whatever it was difference, a guy like Hafley and a guy like Chip Kelly to leave head coaching jobs at Division I schools to go be assistants. One in college, won a national championship, went to the NFL. One as a head coach in college, goes and becomes a defensive coordinator in the NFL. You don't see that. It's happened a handful of times, but rare on D1 schools.
Right.
Well, it's the court, and it's turned out, what? One's now the offensive coordinator. It's gone up and down for Chip Kelly. He's at Northwestern, and now Hafley. Segs, I think I do because I think they'll be energy. Their defense will play more physical. That I do know. But in order to play more physical, you still have to have the personnel that matches what you like to teach. Yet you also have to adjust your teaching, which is the genius of good coaches, to the talent you do have. Because you can overhaul your roster, but you can't overhaul 55 or 53 of them, Segs. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's contracts or guarantees and all that. So you get that. But they've made a complete changing of the guard. New GM, they're doing it completely different. I do expect them to be more physical. To me, the next important thing is not going to be who the quarterback is first. It's going to be who his assistants are. I'm just telling you, because the initial thought is defensive coordinators always go in. Now, if you're Mike Vrabel, you want to win on defense, right? And then all of a sudden, you get to go to a place that has a guy like Drake May that lands in your lap. And now, let me keep McDaniels, who knows this stuff. And here we go again. It's a great thing. And so for me, who he hires as his staff is going to be important. The head coaching hire, when I first started, I'm like, yeah, he's a good coach. He was doing some good things at Boston College, but left there. So it's not like they were in the top 10 team, but some good things. It's hard to win there. And now he's the head coach of Miami. He obviously knows how to sell, which is a good thing. He sold it to LaFleur to be the defensive coordinator, and now has sold that he can be the head coach. I don't know, Segs, really in the NFL. I don't know how good a head coach he's going to be. I don't. That's why I say I do like the fact that I know, judging from watching Green Bay, that there's a different feeling about Green Bay defensively with injuries or without. He can bring that. But for Hafley to do the things that Miami's going to want him to do, that staff is going to be so important, and the culture you build in the building, and believe in it. Just because you're in South Florida where there's sun doesn't mean you can't play like a team that grinds and punches you in the face. The number one thing is he better preach physical, physical, physical. We've already seen them handle the finesse shit. Now prove to me you can handle a punch, body blow. You saw two teams last night that body blows back and forth that dealt with it, right, in the college level, and one that's in the same city Hafley's playing, in the same damn stadium that Miami played last night, his team plays in.
Yep.
You saw body blows. Can the Miami Dolphins with Jeff Hafley and whoever he hires get to the point where we don't look at them as a soft South Florida football team where you come there, you're in a friggin' fist fight? Because when's the last time Miami gave you a fist fight that wasn't started on finesse? I don't remember. Consistently. So that's going to be job number one, that when you walk in the building, you better have somebody punch you right in your gut, because that's what we're preaching here in Miami. And until they do, they're going to get beat by a grinder team like New England. They just are. Hafley's a good choice. I don't know if it's a great choice because, have you ever seen him coach an NFL team, head coach? I haven't. So we're going to find out. It's not sexy on the surface, but it is something they knew they needed, is more physical at the point of attack and a little bit more energy and attitude. I think they'll like it, but the staff will be important to me.
Yeah, the offensive coordinator hire will be the one to really watch in Miami. Same thing.
Because I'm assuming Jeff's going to call the defenses if he should his first year. He should his first year until the guy he hires or brings with him says, I know exactly what you're thinking. That's exactly right.
Same thing can be said in Tennessee and Nashville with the Titans as they hire Robert Saleh. You have Cam Ward, who was the number one pick last year. Saleh was the head coach in New York for 2021 to 2024, I believe it was, then went back to San Francisco to be the defensive coordinator of the 49ers this past year. Now lands his second gig as a head coach in the NFL. Do you like this hire for the Titans, or would you have liked to seen, I don't care if it's one of these younger guys being thrown around like a Nathan Shieldhouse or Udinski from the Chargers, who could come in and give Cam Ward, hopefully get him better, and then stay with him long term? Do you like the hire of Robert Saleh for the Titans?
I do. Say I was a little shocked isn't the right word, a little surprised, just because normally what happens when you have a quarterback that's in the infancy of his career, you bring somebody in that just is solely focused on making sure their initial thought is, let's maximize that position. And I get it. But once again, you know how many times Robert Saleh is going to be sitting in a quarterback room? He's not. That's why whenever I say it a million times, I'll say it again. Whenever I see a coach, offense or defense, hired, Cam Ward's not going to have. Now they may do what Belichick and Brady did, an hour a week, sit down and talk about what you're doing. We're getting more of that, which is important. I'm just talking about the day-to-day teaching conversation, what you're focused on. He'll have 1,000 more conversations in 2 weeks than he will the whole season with his head coach. That's not because they don't like it. It's just the way it sets up as you're putting game plans in.
Right.
And Robert Saleh, who I'm assuming they're also, and I would encourage it, and I normally don't. I mentioned about halfway. I normally don't, because I think it's hard to do both unless you're great at both, unless you've been a head coach for a long time, and then you see it, you delegate it. But you want your stamp immediately, say, here's how we do. Look what he's done with all those injuries, wherever he's been in with San Francisco going back, to keep them afloat, even though it didn't end the way he wanted. I never thought Robert Saleh was going to be a bad head coach in New York. I thought he would change it around. I did. I think a lot of people did. And I know his presence on the sideline. There's a part of me, and I'm not going to get into the body language, I feel like the second time around, I want Robert Saleh to be more vocal out loud so I can see it. I do. Now, maybe I'm wrong. He may be that way in the building. There's nobody that speaks ill will of this cat. Players that play love him. And so that's why, but the love and respect, I think it's both. So it's not just he's our buddy. I think he's got that. this second time around, and it's so new, Segs, this second time around for him, that head coaching experience in New York looms here. So he can grab and say, I didn't do that right. I did not. Belichick even he was in Cleveland. Belichick had to do it different the second time around when he got fired from Cleveland. I think Robert Saleh is a really good choice. But it goes once again, as you can see, the initial thought so far this offseason, John Harbaugh, special teams, defensive backs, defensive side type of thing. Solid defensive guy. They're preaching that defense travels, but that's why their assistants and their coordinator and the quarterback coaches are going to be so friggin'. I would love to work under him and go coach Cam Ward. Yeah. Love to. Somebody else call the plays because they're more experienced and done it. But my point is, find that guy who understands the mechanics, who can maximize what Cam Ward is. I like Robert Saleh. I never thought now he went to a dysfunctional franchise and the quarterback they drafted just did. When you draft a quarterback in the first round like they did that high with Zach Wilson, it doesn't pan out, Sigs. It sets everything back years. It just does. And so I think Robert Saleh will have learned a lesson. I think this is a really smart hire and a good one. I count on them to play defense, but the only way they're going to play offense is they get an aggressive, physical guy who knows how to teach that at the line of scrimmage, but also that can develop and maximize Cam Ward's tremendous ability and not coach him out of spectacular, but coach him into simple. So, yeah, I do like the hire. I like this on the surface more than I do Hafley, yet I don't know. Because I got a little more visuals and optics from Robert Saleh after he learned from it. And you know what? It's okay if somebody goes, a retread. It's okay to get your ass kicked in your job. We've all done it. Or it's like, oh, man, I screwed that up. And then come back and turn into a star coaching guy. I expect this to be far better the second time around for Robert Saleh. And I would imagine he's asked a ton of questions of people, whether it's Shanahan, what do you do? It's important. You never fully conquer this, just like you don't conquer a golf swing. He'll be better the second time around. I think this is an excellent hire. Once again, please do yourself a favor and keep an eye on who the staff is. And this may be even more, because I think the upside of Cam Ward's better than the Miami Dolphins upside at quarterback. This is so important to find a guy who the Cam Ward and him become, you have to separate them from the hip, whoever that coordinator and quarterback coach is in both.
One interesting thing that comes from Robert Saleh getting this Tennessee Titans job is it looked to at one point that Matt Nagy was going to get this job. It's his second try at being a head coach after being the head coach for the Bears. That he was
an offensive guy.
Yeah. Yes, offensive guy. He was going to get this job. So what happens? Andy Reid and Kansas City Chiefs, they go out and they grab Eric Bieniemy from the Bears, who was their running back coach this past season, to bring him back as the offensive coordinator. Now Matt Nagy doesn't get this job, and he's still interviewing with the other teams that are open, some of them. But what does a guy like Matt Nagy do here? Does he say, like, oh, well, yeah, I interviewed for the head coaching job here in Tennessee, but Saleh's offering me the OC job. Do I take that, or do I just wait? How would you handle this if you're Matt Nagy with Eric Bieniemy basically replacing you in Kansas City as the offensive coordinator?
Well, listen, what Kansas City and Andy Reid did, as much as, Matt leaves, comes back. He's there, really good, leaves, comes back. Andy, the reason why Andy brought him back, familiarity, he knows what he does in his system. Same with the EB. It's the same thing. But now that you've brought him in to do the same thing, folks, let me just take you back. Matt Nagy and Eric Bieniemy do not call the majority of the plays in Kansas City. Andy Reid always has. The label of coordinator is they may help in the running game and suggest they're talking to each other. The guy with the 1,500 square foot sheet in his hand, Andy Reid, that's big enough to cover up half the stands, that's who's calling your plays. But the everyday meeting part of it. So if you're Matt Nagy, Sigs, and it's Andy Reid had to protect himself. You can't send a guy out and say, well, I'm just going to hang here, and then all the good guys get hired. The familiarity is important to Andy Reid. If I'm Matt Nagy right now, knowing that Eric Bieniemy is there to basically replace you, and you don't have the same kind of, if Robert Saleh offers you the job to be offensive coordinator, you don't wait. Now, all of a sudden, 2 weeks, a week later, somebody says, we want you to be our head coach somewhere else. All right, great. Saleh's not going to be pissed you took the job. He'd have done the same thing. So, whoever you decide, whether it's Mike McDaniel, who's familiar with Saleh, and you know his work in the run game and the pass game, whether it's Matt Nagy and And, anybody that comes from Andy Reid's tree, you'd assume that pretty good. And I'm going to tell you, I don't know why Doug Peterson isn't being talked about as an assistant somewhere. He's really good as a coordinator. I don't know. I mean, why you wouldn't consider him as far as building and doing it, because he said, and I'm actually kind of surprised that he's not back with Andy too, but maybe Doug still wants to be a head coach. I don't know.
Right.
I will say this though. And if somebody can take all this stuff off this clown, Peter Griffin 16, to take all that, block him, his dirty stuff, please do. Somebody hack that in our comments. We'd appreciate it. But Segs, I think that Miami's hire is a little more iffy than Saleh, not because I don't think Hafley's good. It's because I don't know what his body of work is as a leader of men at the NFL level. I do know Robert Saleh's. So with that in mind, both are, there's some, I'm sure there's going to fall on some moves, just the right hire. But I think Robert Saleh's head start and what he's learned the first time around is at least something that would make you feel a little more comfortable. Both of those guys, and you know what, they may both be in a battle to find out who's the best offensive coordinator they want, because there's two young quarterbacks, no matter what city in Miami and Tennessee, that you got to get somebody who can coach them up, and neither head coach is going to be the ones doing that, because they're going to spend a lot of time on the defensive side of the ball. I like the hire of Saleh. I'm going to love the hire of a coordinator if it's the right guy.
Yeah, another team made their hire. That's the Atlanta Falcons. Matt Ryan comes in as basically GM, or not GM, but president of football ops. He goes out, and before he hires the GM, he hires the head coach, and that's Kevin Stefanski, the two-time coach of the year from the Cleveland Browns that was fired this just, a couple weeks back. He now gets right back into the head coaching circle in Atlanta. He'll have Bijan Robinson. He'll have Kyle Pitts if they decide to bring him back. He'll have Drake London. He'll have some weapons. Now, is Michael Penix the answer at quarterback there in Atlanta? I think Kevin Stefanski will probably tell you no. If he didn't really like Dylan Gabriel, Michael Penix is very similar in terms of the style of play.
Just a more explosive arm than Gabriel has. Yeah,
but not a ton more, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the injuries are a concern. The injuries. But you know why?
Everything.
You know why Stefanski can handle this? He just came out of a quarterback shit show in the city he's been in. So if you want to talk about a guy who can navigate the wondering, and there's a couple less bodies between the Cousins and Penix thing, and there's like 18 bodies at quarterback in the room Stefanski's had to deal with in a dysfunctional franchise there. You know what's crazy though? I gotta believe that Arthur Blank got Matt Ryan's blessing to hire Kevin Stefanski. I haven't seen a quote on it or anything. I would have to believe that if Matt Ryan, because they said he's going to be a football guy and make football, and didn't they say he's the decision maker?
Yes, he is the decision maker.
If it would make no sense to call Matt Ryan the decision maker, then Arthur Blank and those guys to hire Kevin Stefanski and then turn around and have Matt Ryan say, well, I had somebody else in mind. So that picture you see right there, I'm feeling pretty good about the fact that all of them were on the same page. And you and I both said, and you brought it up when Stefanski got fired, that he will be hired by somebody else. He's done two-time coach. He's done a good job. I'm not sure who could have navigated their way through the bullshit that he had to in Cleveland. Honest to God, I'm not. So I hold him in high regard. And you know what? Think about what he's done. He took a guy and at least was competitive, and he's got a long way to go in Shedeur Sanders. But think where he started. I mean, with the guys he's had to go through and getting Flacco in the building a couple times, and then turning right around and dealing with $230 million of guaranteed dollars and have to deal with that. Then the draft comes, and he drafts two guys. All the things he's had to deal with. Is there anybody more prepared to deal with quarterback chaos than that cat? Kevin Stefanski's a good football coach. Don't be skewed by the fact that, and you know what? He's a high-class individual. I want you to find me a time when you see a press conference where I confess he did it, blamed it on everybody else. He doesn't. I think this is a safe, solid hire, Siggs. Is it going to end up in a Super Bowl? Who the hell knows? There's only a couple teams that we can say every year are going to be looking at that. Right. But if you like offensive football and you like a guy that will expand their quarterback game, Kevin Stefanski feels pretty good hire by them. And I like that they were on the same page and didn't let that fester. Good idea and a good job by them to go get what they think they need. And I think he's a really good leader. And I think he's a really good football coach that got caught up in an organization right now that's reeling in the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, he immediately gets two better weapons with Bijan Robinson and Drake London than he ever had in Cleveland, in my opinion. I mean,
I got news for you. The 3 offensive players that he inherited at perimeter positions are better than any of the 3 perimeter players he had in Cleveland. That's not saying now Myles Garrett probably could play wide receiver and catch 100 balls if he wanted. I'm talking about on offense, the good play, and maybe am I missing something? Oh, is it Quinshon Junkins is going to be a hell of a player, right?
So yeah, he's fine,
but
I mean,
he's not Bijan Robinson. That's my point. Is it he had it, but he almost had the Cliff Notes version of what he's about to go get, the full on, the trifecta of a hell of a receiver, a versatile tight end depending on his situation, and outside of McCaffrey, quite frankly, may very well be the best running back for the next 5 years in this league.
Yeah. So as of right now, as we sit, we have the Bills open, we have the Steelers open, we have the Ravens open, we have the Browns open, we have the Cardinals open, and we have your Las Vegas Raiders open. Which job do you look at here if you're one of these top guys that are sitting out there? You're the top head coaching candidate. Which job are you looking at and saying, that's the one I want, that's the one I would take if offered, and then this is the one I am staying away from?
You should have about 12 spaces between the Ravens and the Browns, the 3 versus the 3. Yeah. Because the Bills, to me, I mean, you can argue the Bills is I think it's a great job, and we know why. We talked about the AFC. The Steelers is a great job if you're a coach and you say, man, if I just win, I'll be here for 70 years. That's a good gig and a hell of a front office. And then the Ravens, I can make the argument Steve Bisciotti's as good owners we have in football, maybe in sports, honestly. And they know how to build a front. Those 3. And then you go the Browns, dysfunctional. They are what they've got to navigate through for those poor fans that they got to deal with is a shit show. The Cardinals organization is at times eye rolling, and the Raiders flip-flop the Raiders and Cardinals. I'd go Raiders probably just because of Vegas and Tom Brady is at least going to be a part. I'd go Bills, Steelers at the top, Ravens. You can shuffle the Ravens to 1 and the Bills to 2. I don't care how you those 3 quality winning organization. Dude, look at this. Bills supposed to be in a Super Bowl. Steelers at Aaron Rodgers, they did a bunch of stuff this offseason and they win every year. And the Ravens are always a Super Bowl contender. They're without coaches. 3 great gigs.
Crazy.
So those 3, and then the Browns. Well, it feels like we're doing this all the time, like with quarterback. The Cardinals, they don't even know in their own building what they're trying to do. And the Raiders, well, the Raiders will Raider. So to me, you could take the Cardinals and put them at the bottom. Raiders close. Browns maybe, but the top 3, flip them however you want. You like the Bills the most because Josh Allen. You like the Ravens the most because Steve Bisciotti. You would do whatever. Steelers because of the organization. I can tell you this, that if you're a first-time, any head coach, you're taking any of them. I mean, if it's offered to you and it's the only one offered, you're taking the Raiders job because you always feel you can fix it. But those top 3 jobs, man, it's just I cannot believe I'm staring at Bills, Steelers, Ravens and saying all 3 of them. I get the Browns, Cardinals, Raiders. I've seen that movie a bunch. I don't see the movie for the other 3 very often. There's still 3 great jobs. A couple, well, the city like Scottsdale's better than the team, and the Raiders are in Vegas and Brady's involved, and the Browns. Well, the Browns fans are off the charts good, and they got to deal with this. So I said we got a bunch of great gigs left, and then I start to wonder how many of them will hire within. Like a guy, like for instance, would you go back and hire Joe Brady because of Josh Allen's performance with Brady if you were Buffalo? Would you revisit it and say, okay, everybody's fine, we want Joe Brady to come back? Or if you're Joe Brady saying, man, it left, I'm going somewhere else, and do you hire him in Cleveland? If the Browns, Cardinals, or Raiders and nobody else offers and Joe Brady is offered the gig, he's going to take it because you feel like you can fix it. Now, maybe the Raiders becomes a better job than the other 2 because you get the first pick of the draft, right, Seg? So that becomes the 4th best gig. So, I can't remember a time this far into the coaching cycle, 3 dominant football teams that win every year are still without a coach.
There's been talk that the favorite in Pittsburgh right now,
and none of them are in the playoffs anymore. They're all you can get hired.
Yep. The favorite in Pittsburgh is the Minnesota Vikings defensive coordinator, Brian Flores. He comes recommended from Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin has said, this is the guy who I think should replace me. Now, will they, take his word and go for that? Possibly. But do you like the fit of Brian Flores in Pittsburgh? Or do you feel like, well, kind of similar to Mike Tomlin, kind of the same type of guy, same type of coach? Do you want to change it a little bit in Pittsburgh and maybe go a different direction?
I love it. And I'll tell you why, Segs. He's a no-nonsense guy. He's proven his defense that his system works. And he's got the fire of Mike Tomlin, but like we said, sometimes things just get stale.
Yeah.
Why would I not want to hire somebody who did Chuck Noll, when you hired Bill Cowher, didn't a lot of people think that feels like Chuck Noll? Hard-nosed, good coach, disciplined. Yeah. So you did the same thing. Then you got Mike Tomlin, similar, comes in there, takes care of his business, wins, and keeps on winning. It's rare that the guy has never had a losing season and he's fired. Well, not fired, but the agreement to move on. And then you've got Brian Flores, who hard-nosed, tough. Listen, if you're coaching in Pittsburgh and those aren't part of your traits, you're the wrong cat. I think every trait that a Steelers fan and a Steelers organization would want sits with Brian Flores in your face. We're not playing fair. The best players to play. Here's how we're going to work. And I want to carry on the success Mike Tomlin's had. I just need a little refresher course on things got to change for Mike. Mike's needed a change too, I'm sure. Hence why he's not there. And the organization, it's there. But if you could say, put it this way, take even away the Super Bowl. What if Brian Flores had the same success Mike Tomlin had sans the Super Bowl? Would you say that when Brian Flores was fired after all those years or left, that you'd say that's one hell of a successful career? The only thing that's missing from a Hall of Fame resume would be winning a Super Bowl, right? So why wouldn't you go with that? And listen, I don't want to bring finesse to Pittsburgh. Get me some players who can handle finesse. Pittsburgh, you want to talk about culture and what they expect? We know the traits a Steeler coach expects. I like Brian Flores, another defensive guy, which seems to be a hot thing right now, at least in the first few hires. 1, 2, 3 of the 4 have defense or special teams background. I do like it, and I would think the Steelers could do far worse than to go get a guy like Brian Flores. I love him, and I love his mentality, and I don't think the players are going to try to take too much advantage of Brian Flores. I do like it. I think he actually feels like he belongs in Pittsburgh. Of those there, I could see him coaching in Baltimore. I could. I honestly could. Yeah. Give me, if you're the Steelers, I wouldn't wait on that, because if I'm one of those 6 other teams like the Raiders, I'd be in line for Brian Flores too, because they need a boot, a cleat, a boot, a hat, a casino stuck up their ass to get something out of them. You can do a lot worse than that. I like guys who are on the toe in the line of bucking the system, Segs, where they respectful, but they're no pushover. Brian Flores fits that bill. If I was a GM when all this came about, all these teams, Brian Flores would have been on a short list for me to hire, because his impact is felt in a hurry, and it's important. Love it.
All right, we'll continue to watch and monitor the NFL coaching carousel and see who lands where. Tomorrow we'll talk more. We'll get into the Darian Mensah, Duke, supposedly Miami saga of another quarterback signing a deal and then saying, I'm going to go into the portal. Will it end up like Damon Williams and Mensah has to go back to Duke and kind of say, okay, I'm coming back? Or does Miami put up a lot of money to offer to Duke to say, hey, we're just going to take him? It'll be interesting to see. Duke has sued Darian Mensah over signing the contract, so basically as a breach of contract. So we'll get into that tomorrow. We'll talk about the impact of Zach Charbonnet being out for the Seahawks, the rest of this postseason. And before we get to our bet of the day, Sean.
Six, can I say one thing before you tee this up? Is the gosh, don't let me lose my mind on what you were talking. Oh, the Duke thing. I am to the point now, and I'm going to stand on this firmly. I've said it, but I'm not wavering on this. I don't care what NIL says. I don't care about the transfer portal. If you leave my program, you've already told me you are not all in. And that permeates. I bring you back. I'm basically bringing back a guy that I know left me for the wrong reasons. Now, but I'm talking, if he leaves me like Sam Levitt did, you just want to go bigger and you think it's better and there's more money, I get it. But to go and find that door kind of closed, or to regret your decision and want to come back, it tells me you were always, and I've used this before, you're at the dance or you go to a meeting, Segs, we've all been to them. You're excited to meet a businessman and he comes over to you because you're the small guy, or you're the one. And what's he doing? He's looking over his shoulder because Bezos is coming in the bill. He wants to get to them, the bigger guy, the bigger cat. He wants to see Belichick, not you. He wants to see Saban, right? Always looking for the one, the hotter girl, or the more expensive, the expensively dressed guy, or you know what I'm saying? He's got his head's always on a swivel. And I'm not talking about on the field. And so for me, I feel like that's how. I'm sure Mentz is a good kid. This has nothing to do with it. But Segs, you saw Indiana win a national championship because they didn't waver on any of it, right? The second a guy tells me he wants to leave and I know he's good, then all of a sudden goes through it, tests it, it didn't turn out, and decides he wants to come back, I would have done the same thing Duke did. I would have done the same thing I would have looked at it different. I would have done the same thing Tennessee did. There's always somebody out there who's a good player if you're developing them right. Once you decide to up and leave me for the wrong reasons and decide come, if you leave me and go, I'll wish you all good luck. But once you walk out that building, especially at that position, you come back, I'm concerned about buying. I'm anxious to see when what college guy threatens to leave, says he's transferring, goes in the portal. It doesn't work out the way he wants to, comes back and they win a national championship. Not one who was going to go in the draft. I'm talking about one who up and left. Yeah. And decides to come back and the team lets him back in. That will he be good enough, or will he be so bought in that he wins the title? To me, I know I may be wrong, but as the coach, I reserve that right. Once you leave my program in the portal, you no longer have that job when you come back. I will find somebody to replace you, somebody who may not be as talented as you, but buys in more than you do. I'm still going to win. I firmly believe that. Once you're out and decide you're testing it, I'm done. I'm out. You're not coming back.
Yeah, we'll get into more of that, more of the detail of what's going on behind the scenes with the Duke quarterback. Is he going to leave? Will he come back? We'll see. But Sean, this weekend, I don't know, you better go fill up on gas, go get toilet paper, because we know how people are in Texas. You're supposed to get a big ice storm this weekend all across the state of Texas, except for the very south part they're talking about. Can you handle the ice, or are you one of these scared? You've lived in the South a long time now. I know you've been up in Winnipeg and Minnesota and all this stuff, but I think you're at the point now, later in life, that now you're scared of the ice and you won't go anywhere and you'll just be stuck in your house for days with the ice.
Do I look like an excuse making blame it on the cold pussy to you? Do I?
You've lived in the South a long time now. It's been a while since you know
now,
day to day.
Truth be told,
in the 5-degree weather, like I just went outside in the morning.
Truth be told, do I run as hot as I normally would? Absolutely not when it comes to temperature. Truth be told, is 55 degrees with a little breeze a little cool on the golf course for me where I got a layer? Yes, normally it would have been short sleeves and who the hell cares? So I will give you that. But I'm the other guy. Oh, nobody's on the road. Perfect time for me to get on the road so I can get to the grocery store and do, yes. So nah, it won't. Those dogs will still be walking. I'll still be doing the things I need to do. Nah, Segs, that doesn't bother me. It just gets in the way of some of the outdoor activities I want. But I'm not going to crawl into a hole and disappear for 3 weeks. Nah, I can handle it. Plus, it's this time of year you expect it. It was this time last year. Very similar, Segs, in Houston. Same thing hit. And us in Texas, I understand cold hits once in a while. But far be it for us to bitch and complain when it hits for a couple days when some of you guys are going through it for 4 months. So I'm not, no pussy here. Just be smart and safe. I'm not telling you to go out and drag race in it, but the weather doesn't keep me in. It just may keep me off the golf course because it may close the golf course because of the frost and stuff on the ground. So I ain't afraid of cold. I ain't afraid of shit when it comes to that.
I remember one day when I lived down there in Houston and, we woke up and my boys were 2 maybe at this point, and there was a dusting of snow, just a dusting. It's the first time my boys had ever seen snow, just a dusting. and they canceled school.
Oh, dude, I am
I
so
mean,
with you.
it was, and we lived,
Embarrassing.
you know, my wife teaches, she would taught like 2 blocks away. My daughter's school was right next to hers, and they closed school down for that day because of a dusting of snow. They don't even know what to do.
Dude, 40 degrees. The mere mention of cold. I'm not talking about floods or hurricanes. That's it
Right.
at all. We know that. We're simply talking about cold.
Yes.
At the mere mention in this state of cold weather coming, like you're mentioning now, do not be shocked if on Friday they cancel school.
Right.
Well, it's going to hit in the 30s. These kids are going to be cold. Well, guess what? Put a down jacket on them with a layered hoodie underneath. Put a beanie on them and send their ass to school. I'm telling you, they're looking in this state, and I love it, for reasons to keep that kid. So as tough as this state is and all that, when it comes to cold weather, Segs, they cringe in a hurry. Oh, my baby can't go to school when it's 38. Yes, they can. They're indoors, and they got a heater in there.
Right.
They may not go outside for recess, if that's what we still call it in the 2nd grade. But yes, it will shut down at the mere mention. You just did it. People are listening. Oh, kid can't go to school. Yeah, kid can't go to school. It's 34 degrees, which you guys deal with for 3 straight months. Yeah. Nah, dude, Ray's different. No. Hell, if I got a quarterback and we're supposed to train in it, and we'll see who scheduled it, and we're supposed to train in it, guess what? We play in it.
Yeah.
Layer up, dude. Layer up. They don't cancel football for cold. They cancel for lightning. That's when we won't train. Other than that, we work. And so, yeah, it's pussified, brother.
Yeah,
it's just it's ridiculous.
Triple E says in our chat, rain 2 down there. Well, the way Houston's built, it rains 2 inches. It's like a 100-year flood there. I mean, it just.
Well, it's like
everywhere.
A tsunami. Yeah. Hey, it rained.
Like,
it sprinkled for 60, or it rained overnight. You wake up in the morning, you expect to be having a sailboat out in front. Yeah, it's crazy.
You're trapped.
Not a hurricane. We're talking about an inch and a half of rain.
Rain.
Yeah.
A nice an afternoon shower.
Dude, I live. Stakes, you know where I live, behind the green belt here.
Yeah.
I mean, my house, and then there's a green belt, so they can't build behind. So you go after a rain like that, you got the bridges covered. The walkover, you take walk. It's like, what happened last night? Did we get a hurricane? When those hit, that's no joke. It looks like freeways look like Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
But when a rain like that, he'd say, it only rained like an inch and a half. Well, the bayou's full. And as you know, here in the bayou, like there's people that we wake up and it's like, you hear how many deaths happen in the bayou, Segs? And I don't know what it's from. They say it's never a serial killer, but every day there's another person in the bayou.
Yep.
But I'm telling you what, you want it to fill up, just rain an inch and a quarter in 24 hours, and we'll be paddle boating on the green belt behind the house. But yeah. Rain and cold, this state's mentality, I mean, is not. Now you want people to rally around a real rain and a hurricane. Ain't nobody better in this state.
Right. Yep.
But nothing shuts down a state quicker than the mention of 35 degrees and a sprinkle. And oh my gosh, we're canceling school, and they'll make it up in June 3rd through the 7th. Yeah. It's crazy.
All right, time for our bet of the day. We're going to the college basketball route today. We got number 15, Vandy. Mark Byington has his team playing really, really well this season, but they travel to Arkansas. John Calipari and company is a 1.5-point favorite. They're ranked 20th. They're at Arkansas. 173.5 is the number, which I'm telling you, these numbers are going up and up in college basketball.
There's a reason.
Teams start to score.
Playing
now
like the NBA, Segs. Yeah, they're playing like the NBA.
Now, I know we are getting into conference play now, which is bringing some scores down because these teams know each other so well. But with the way transfers work and the way these teams rebuild yearly now in college hoops, these numbers are still high because, well, let's face it, a lot of these kids are coming from Europe. They don't play a lot of defense over there. And the kids playing AAU, well, they don't play defense at AAU. I've seen some firsthand over the last, couple months when I go up and take my boys to some tournaments, and the defense of these older boys is just atrocious.
The Segs, you mentioned the no play defense and the rest of it. It is, it's become the calling card of college basketball now. Sadly, I got Arkansas. And you mentioned the number going up. I do like the over, but I would take the number. I think Arkansas wins outright. And they're 1.5 point favorites. I think it's a 3-point game. I like Arkansas. I love what Vandy's doing. That whole program in sports has changed around, and it's amazing how one affects the other. And one sport affects the other because there's this one. And don't be shocked if all of a sudden some other sport in Indiana rears its head. I mean, just kind of we see it in NFL and college. But I like Arkansas. I like Cal's team, and I know they want to run. And the ironic thing about it is, what one of Cal's great strengths is, Calipari, is he is a really good defensive coach. Yeah. But that number of $163, this is a mid-80s type game. But give me Arkansas by a 3-pointer. Arkansas wins the game.
Yeah, give me the Razorbacks as well. All right, tomorrow, we'll talk about Zach Charbonnet's absence and what that does to the Seahawks offense.
And Jared, you're doing the right thing with your kid too, man. You're doing the right thing with your kid. He's out shoveling other people's snow. I like it. Don't stay in. Go out and assist the lady down the street.
That's no doubt. We haven't had snow in a while here. We get flurries, but nothing that piles up.
Well, it's too cold to snow for you guys. That's the problem, Segs. You guys get beyond the snow with the cold in Chicago.
So, but we've got plenty to talk about as we get ready for championship weekend, coming off the national championship last week. Maybe look ahead at some of these way too early top 25 lists that are out for college football next year. And
you think?
And then we'll figure out. I want to ask, where does Miami go if they don't get Mensa? And this is part of this calendar problem where, they're worried about winning a national championship. They're not, you're working the portal a little bit, but Mario Cristobal's focus is solely on the national championship game. Well, he's not looking at the portal, who had a bunch of quarterbacks, and we know his quarterback's leaving, and they don't have that guy, I don't think, on the roster for next year. So that's why they started like, oh crap, we're gonna, next year could be rough. Look at Michigan 2 years ago. J.J. McCarthy decided to go to the draft after they won the national title. It had been done. The portal was closed, and then it's like, well, crap, we don't have a quarterback. We don't have that next guy, and that's where these teams that are playing for these need to be looking as well and putting some of their people on the NIL and in the transfer portal in terms of bringing these guys in.
The calendar has to change a little bit, Segs.
Sean, next year's championship game isn't until like January 25th.
And we want 24 teams. We want 24 teams, Segs? Yeah. I don't, but apparently but the Big Ten wants 24 and the rest or SEC want 16. Is that right? Yeah. I'm good with where we are now. I don't know. I can just tell you right now, the 16th ranked team in the country is never winning. Right. The 16 seed in a playoff is not winning the national title. Too much. You have to go through too many now. Now do 24.
Right.
I don't know who ended up 24th. Do you think they're winning 5 straight games and getting into championship? They're not. How many would you have to win? Say 16, there'd be no bye, right? 1 play 16, 2 play. That's the way I do it. Home game, but you got to play. I mean, what is that? That's going to add another round, right?
Yeah.
Basically. So you'd have to win 5 of them to win the whole thing. Get to 17-0 if you're an undefeated Indiana team. Yeah, to me,
we're at an NFL full season
for
these college kids.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. But, and then it'll make you wonder why they get paid. They should get paid, but we still have to regulate it so it doesn't get out of hand. I say doesn't get out of hand. We're already in a shit show with all this stuff anyway. But as far as Cristobal, the 2 teams that won are at a disadvantage when it comes to that, and both of them need to replace their quarterback.
Yep. So
we'll see.
We'll talk about that tomorrow and what that, what it could look like for both of these schools. Indiana did bring in a kid, but they also are losing Mendoza's brother to the portal as well. We'll talk about that tomorrow.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Segs, to make sure that wasn't fake news. When I saw that, all the Indiana love, he must think that the guy coming in, he's not going to get a chance to compete the way he wants, and that's fair. And I'm sure Cignetti, with all this, is pretty upfront with him. That's what the portal's for. I don't get a chance. I'm not going to get a chance to compete for a job. Let me go play somewhere I am.
Right.
I understand that part of it, but 7 of them. Sorry, we don't need any more TJ Finleys.
No,
running around 7 of them.
Okay. Gosh, no. Yeah. All right. Thanks to Triple E. Thanks to Laura. Thanks to Bailey. Thanks to our listeners. Please go to YouTube, like and subscribe to the channel at Unpaved Sean Salisbury. Get all the notifications of when we go live every single day at 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Peace.
Unpaved, Sean Salisbury here. We're bringing authentic, real stuff to you. Hardcore opinion.
Sean Salisbury, a great NFL analyst, a former NFL quarterback.